All right, we are recording. We're good to go. All right, Rob, this is the third time we've gotten together. I think maybe the third or fourth time, right? We did a podcast for you a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
We've done a
three,
couple of
4
videos.
times. It's
Um,
been good, man. Keep
it's
adding
awesome,
to
man.
it.
Yeah, right. I feel like every time we talk, there's something new that pops up. Like, oh, we got to talk about this next. Just the natural flow of things.
Absolutely.
Today, we're going to talk about your experience as a professional bodybuilder, professional, amateur. What's your classification? How does that work?
So I've earned my bodybuilding pro card.
Okay.
But the thing about bodybuilding is there's so many different federations. So some federations don't honor other federations pro status. So
Okay.
depending on what federation I'm competing in, I'm either pro or amateur.
Okay. So, but you've competed in multiple different ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And how long you been doing it?
I've been bodybuilding for 10 years now.
Wow. Okay.
So pretty
Okay.
good while.
Um, and what we're going to talk about more specifically is what your kind of history with that and how you've prepped, what you've gotten to the last few years of prepping and getting ready and for a bodybuilding show without any carbs and kind of go through that whole process. So, and then we'll talk a little bit as well, like what I do from a, because my background is CrossFit more, lifting more, but not necessarily aesthetics and bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
So I come from it to it. I come at it from a different angle. But I think we'll see some interesting overlap and crossover and
Yeah, for sure.
the different protocols, but similar results. I'm very interested to see where this goes. So tell us a little bit real quick first. You've been bodybuilding for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Did you start out as a bodybuilder doing just ketogenic bodybuilding?
No, definitely not. I was like the standard bro bodybuilding diet, eating 6, 7 meals a day, every 2 or 3 hours, eating all the crap food, a lot of
Okay.
carbohydrates, and I did that for the first 5 years or so of my
Okay.
bodybuilding endeavor. So about half of my time bodybuilding's been keto, the other half is traditional bro diet.
Gotcha.
I was doing like flexible dieting, if it fits your macros, stuff like that.
Okay. And how many
And
shows in
then
the,
for competitions, following that protocol.
okay,
What was
sorry,
that?
it just hung up for a second. Um, in the first 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
how many shows did you do?
Three.
Three. Okay. And then in
Yep.
the second half of that time,
Mm-hmm. I've done
then
how many have I done? 4, 5 or 6, I think.
okay. So you've done
Yeah,
more as you've gotten more experience and kind of locked in what you're doing. You've been able to be a little bit more specific and kind of prep easier, I'm assuming.
yeah. More experience is good.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Always good. Um,
Made a
okay.
lot of mistakes that first couple times.
Yeah, right. Don't we all? Okay. So what were some of the reasons behind you saying, because this is intriguing to me. Like your bodybuilding, you've been doing it for 2 years. You've done some shows. I'm assuming you did pretty well. You did well enough to want to keep doing it, right?
Hmm.
You had something that said, "Hey, I like this. I'm doing well. I see I can actually do something in this sport." Um, what made you change and go against what everybody else was doing?
So I had developed a lot of eating disorders after my first couple of shows. The first show, I I I did everything wrong. Like I went from 230 pounds to 150 pounds in 3 months. Lost like 70 pounds in no time. Lost a
Wow.
lot of muscle. And I just had a really bad relationship with food. Developed a bunch of eating disorders and eating, binging, purging, all the above. I put on 20 pounds overnight after the show. It was just unhealthy to the max. And then I basically
Crazy.
continued that through the next two competitions. Each time I competed, I did really well, but it was just not a sustainable lifestyle. It wasn't healthy, and I
Yeah.
knew that it wasn't healthy. So I wanted to continue bodybuilding because I felt bodybuilding and putting my body through those rigors was a beneficial thing, but I wanted to find a way to make it sustainable for the
Yeah.
long term.
Okay.
So I decided to cut out. I started to do carbohydrate backloading, which is John Kiefer's protocol. Basically, you eat ketogenic foods during the first half of the day, and then as you go into the evening hours, you eat high glycemic index carbs that basically spike your insulin, cause it to peak, and then drop off pretty rapidly. Um, and I didn't have any adverse effects to that per se, but I noticed that I felt better before I ever introduced the carbs in the first place. So I
Okay.
decided I was going to do carbohydrate backloading without the carbs. Didn't know that was keto, didn't know what that was, but I
Right.
decided I was gonna give it a shot. Um, this was back in 2000, like 15,
Okay.
2014, 2015. So this was before there was any kind of keto hype like there is now.
Right. Right.
There was no blogs, no podcasts, no content. And I stumbled upon, uh, I guess the first website or first podcast I heard on the matter was a Tim Ferriss podcast with Dom DiAgostino. And that was the first time I'd ever heard the word keto. And I
Mhm.
started diving a little bit deeper into it. Then they talk about it being used for epileptic children,
Right.
and I started playing around with it as a bodybuilder, which was totally unheard of. But
Yeah.
I
It's
noticed good results, man.
it's
I felt
still
great.
unheard of.
Yeah, it's still
Right.
pretty unheard of. Yeah, I felt great. My performance did not suffer. I was able to get a pump in the gym, like everybody said I couldn't. Everything just benefited, so I decided to run with it, and I
Yeah.
did that throughout the off season and the contest prep.
Yeah.
And
You mentioned the pump. I honestly, so I started doing keto while I was doing CrossFit, and then have been transitioning, minus the whole COVID-19 stuff.
mhm,
Had been transitioning to much more of a bodybuilding type routine. And I got to be honest with you, being keto, being no carb, I get a pump faster and it lasts long. Like it doesn't take much for me to feel like I get a pump.
yeah,
And I go in there and I crush it. And I'll do, a couple sets of something and be like, man, it's sitting to hit me already. I'm like, I just started my workout. It's
yeah.
freaking awesome. I love it.
Yeah, there's that, and, like, when you're eating a bunch of carbs and you have to, like, time your pre-workout carbs, your post-workout carbs, and you got, like, 6 meals a day, it's like, there's so much of a skewed variable that comes into play with regard to your digestion. Like, if
Right.
you time things incorrectly and you're doing deep squats and you just got done eating a bunch of bean burritos to get the carbs in, like, it's just not good, you know? And I don't have to worry about that anymore with keto. Like,
Yeah.
it's always consistent, I'm always regular, it's always better.
Yeah, and it honestly, and it doesn't. So my schedule has kept me working out in the afternoons for the past few years, but since this whole quarantine lockdown thing, I've been trying to work out kind of whenever I can get my mind right to do a workout.
Oh, yeah.
And it froze again. Now we're back. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the timing of my workouts isn't reliant at all on what I'm eating. I can
Mhm.
work out any time of the day and my body's ready to go because I
Yeah.
don't need to preload. I don't need to postload. I don't need to get some pre-workout. I don't need to, I don't just, I can work out. My body's got the fuel. It's got the energy to do it whenever I need it. Whether I've eaten, whether I've not eaten, it doesn't make a freaking difference.
Totally, man. I mean, right now I'm doing like my calories are still low enough going into this reverse diet that I'm doing like a OMAD approach, so just one meal a
Yeah.
day. And I'll typically eat in the morning and then I'll train the next morning. So I eat like 9, 10 a.m. and then I'm training at 5 or 6 a.m. the following day. So it's almost 24 hours before training and there's no digestive issues. I have got a great pump each time. It's just consistent
Yeah.
and I feel very mentally sharp throughout the day. So
Right.
it makes meal frequency, and timing things so much easier.
Okay, cool. I'm writing some of these down because I want to come swing back to some of this stuff at the end.
Totally.
Meal timing. All right. So you recently were scheduled to do a show.
Yes.
Obviously, that got canceled. You did a photo shoot instead, which I can't wait to see how that comes out and what you got out of those shots. Um, Explain to us where you started the training program, and we talked a little bit about this on the phone a week or so ago. But I want to start getting into some numbers a little bit and talk about like what your body weight was, what your BMR is, what your fat percentage was, where you started your calories, what your cycles look like, and when you changed from
Mhm.
one nutrition approach to the next, and kind of how you progressed from, I don't know, let's say 4 months out, 3 months out to the time when you were going to have your show.
Totally. So to start, I was at about 177.5 pounds, roughly. Body fat percentage was probably, I think, 12 or 13, according to the DEXA scan that I got.
Okay.
And calories were at about 3,500 calories.
And that
Of
was
those
what you
30,
were taking in.
yep, that's where
Okay.
that was my starting point. Um, that 3,500 calorie mark was about 80% of my calories were coming from dietary fat. So very high dietary fat, protein. I forget what protein is off the top of my head, but it was about 80% of total calories coming from fat. So pretty good fat percentage there.
Yeah.
I ended the cut. This was not the photo shoot did not time itself to be the the show that I was peaking for. It was about 3
Okay.
weeks shy of the show that I was going to peak for, so I would have tightened up a little bit more. But I got down to, via the caliper test, I think 4.5% body fat, and my calories are down to 1,790 calories, um, in which I was doing refeeds of about 77% of my calories were coming from fat. My protein was down to 100 grams a day. Uh, so pretty low dietary protein relative to what most bodybuilders are taking in.
Okay.
Um, in my last competition prep, I got down to 65 grams of dietary protein a day. So pretty
Okay.
unheard of for a male.
Yeah. Okay. And what was your weight at that?
I got down to 160. I got down, I think my lowest was 164.
Okay.
Uh, I think I started ramping up calories to fill out a little bit. So I think on the photo shoot day, I was 166,
So
165.
that weight percentage with your body fat, I mean, that's a 9%, 8.5% body fat loss.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like you can, I don't know if you haven't done a DEXA yet, right?
No, I was gonna do a DEXA the week of the photo shoot, but I can't access the
You
DEXA
can't get
right
it.
now
Yeah, right.
because
Yeah, we can't get to them.
yeah,
Okay, so, but just doing the math, it doesn't look like you've lost much. You might have even gained. I'm not pulling a calculator right now. You're at least, let's say you're at least the same on your lean mass.
yeah. I
Right? You
mean,
may have
just
even
based
gone
off
up a little
of
bit.
just based off of my lifts, I was able to continue to hit PRs throughout the entirety of the contest prep. Like I never saw a drop off in strength, which is
Okay.
also pretty unheard of.
Unheard of, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So you went from 30, what's your BMR? Do you know? Well, what's your TDE? Do you know?
I don't know. I honestly don't put a whole lot of weight in that. I just kind of like train instinctively with regard to
Yeah,
those calculations. I track everything very, very religiously, like macronutrients and whatnot. But
sure.
regard to TDE and BMR and stuff, I don't really put a whole lot of emphasis on that.
Okay. So you can track that. All right, cool. Um, that's
I
interesting.
think according to my last DEXA, which was taken about halfway through the prep, it was calculating my um, BMR at about 1,800, but I feel
It's about,
it's low.
yeah, that's about, yeah. Plus your workouts. I mean, you're probably in the 25 to 2,700 range. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe even
I mean, I
3,000.
was still losing weight at, 2,100, 2,200 calories. So
Right, right, right. Yeah, and I'm very similar, right? So I went from, doing more of a paleo approach, doing about 1,900 calories, 18 to 1,900 calories a day, getting
mhm,
fatter.
yeah.
And I went to no carbs, up my protein to about 2,500 calories a day, and got stronger and leaner at the same time. So,
Yeah, I mean, for me as a bodybuilder, having such a fine tooth comb on how my body's responding to all these different stimuli, that's when I can't imagine people truly think it's all based off of calorie consumption, calories in, calories out,
yep.
because what those calories are made of, what those macronutrients are coming from, that has such a profound impact on your body composition and how you're feeling from a
Oh,
metabolic standpoint.
absolutely. And just the simple fact of, regardless of the whole debate of are you eating in a deficit or not, right? Let's take
Hmm.
that completely out of the picture. If I'm eating 1,800 calories and I'm gaining fat, and then I go to eat 2,500 calories and I lose fat,
Yeah. What's
I,
better?
who technically, by some people's account, I'm eating. The only reason that I'm losing fat is because I'm eating in a deficit. Well, I was eating in a deficit at 1,800 as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
And the how you
how is that an
feel
argument?
during that time is massively important as well. Like
Uh,
what's more enjoyable, you know?
right, right, absolutely. Um, okay, so just to recap those numbers, you started out at 177 pounds ish. You were eating 3,500 calories a day, 80% from fat. What does that look like? What does your meals for a day look like at 80% fat and
So
the rest protein?
I pretty much during a contest prep, I keep the variables pretty well controlled. I meal prep everything for the week, and I just manipulate those as my macros change week to week.
Okay.
So a solid baseline food intake for me is I'll have 1 to 3 cups of coffee with heavy cream, and then I'll have a keto brick, which is 1,000 calories, of which 81% of that's coming from fat, 90 grams of fat usually, and then I'll have some ratio of ground beef as my macros change, I'll titrate the protein up, the fat down, depending on what I'm doing. But I can easily switch from like a 75-25 ground beef to 85-15 to 80-20 to a 96-4 even. So I
Hmm.
manipulate a lot of my macros based off of the type of ground beef I'm using. I had venison every day. Venison I'd killed, I was proud of that. And I'd incorporate some organ meats like liver. I would incorporate liverwurst sausage. I would do some sardines, stuff like that. But
I do
I
the
really tried to emphasize nutrient density.
I do the capsules because I just can't stand liver.
Yeah.
I do liver capsules. That's my shortcut.
Hmm.
Okay, now you did that. How long did you do that? How far out are we talking, and how long did you kind of do that higher calorie, higher fat percentage?
So I started at 3,500 calories, 80% coming from fat at about 21 weeks out.
Okay,
And then as I go through, what I do is I increase dietary protein and decrease dietary fat at
okay,
about 5 to 10 grams a week. So like each week I may drop 5 grams
okay.
or increase 5 grams depending on what macronutrient I'm talking about.
So
Sometimes,
you've got your percentages here. Do you know off the top of your head what this conversion of fat and protein percentage to grams is?
what do you mean, like the
Like you
ratio?
said 80% fat. How many grams of fat is that a day?
I could tell you.
Just
Give me 3 seconds here. I
yeah.
got all my macros. So during week one of my contest prep, I was at 155 grams of protein, 20 grams of total carbs, 307 grams of total fat.
Holy crap.
Yeah, pretty high fat intake.
That's like double what I get every day.
Yeah, that's what I was getting on my energy though. Like if you're keto, I mean, you're not really getting
Yeah.
energy from protein. You're getting it either
Oh
from
yeah.
carbs or from
Yeah.
fat.
You are
You
getting it
know.
from carbs and fat. Absolutely. Holy
So
cannoli. Okay.
yeah. So I would kind of give you a glimpse here. I would titrate protein up and fat down
Yep.
until I had reached my peak on protein, which was about 200 grams. At that point, I was about 68% of my calories were coming from dietary fat. That was my protein threshold, about 200 grams. At that point, I started trading both protein and fat down.
So that's about
So
a 1-to-1. So that's almost 1 gram of fat to one
yeah,
gram of protein right there. All right.
yep, it's
So
about a 1 to 1. It's
remember
gonna be a
that.
little bit different for everybody, but
And it
yeah.
depends on how many carbs you get and all that kind of stuff too. But
Hmm.
um, now remember that because we're going to go there when we talk about what I do.
Okay.
Okay. So you're about 200 and 200-ish, we'll just say.
And then at that point, I started just dropping both protein and fat. Um, and then when I was doing that, obviously calories are coming down both times because, there's more calories per gram of dietary fat than protein. So even
Right.
as protein was going up, total calories were coming down. And then as I started dropping both protein and fat, total calories were obviously coming down. And then once I got down below 2,000 calories, that's a pretty big deficit for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when I started implementing ketogenic caloric refeeds to kind
Okay.
of help ramp up my metabolism and ramp up just how I'm feeling overall, kind of my psychology with it all. Just give me like a little mental break from being in a
Okay.
deficit for so long because I was in a deficit for basically 21 weeks.
Right. All right. So explain to me how these refeeds work. What's a keto refeed?
So a keto refeed, a lot of people do carb refeeds, to peak for a show. I
Yeah.
do keto refeeds. So basically, I'll start with 30% increase in day-to-day calories coming from both proteins and fats. So I'll split the difference and take that 30% increase in calories, pretty much evenly distributed across protein and fat. Um, and then, like I said, about 30% increase. What I did this year that was different than years prior is I started doing a 2-day consecutive ketogenic refeed in which I normally do like 3 weeks of refeeds. So I
Okay.
have 2 trial refeed weeks and then the actual peak week itself. So the first refeed week was a 30% increase in calories. That was on Friday to peak for the event on Saturday. The next week, so 2 weeks out from the show, I did the first ketogenic caloric refeed on Thursday and then another one on Friday. The one on Thursday was a 50% increase in calories. The one on
Hmm.
Friday was a 100% increase in calories. So
Whoa.
pretty significant in food. And
Yeah.
then on the actual peak week, I replicated that. I did another 50% increase on the Thursday and then 100% increase on the Friday. So the day before the photo shoot, which would be the show, I had like I think 3,600 calories, which I'm
That's
normally eating
crazy.
1,780. So pretty good bump in food, yeah.
That's
But I didn't
crazy.
have any GI or digestive issues because it's all coming from ketogenic sources and not going to
Right.
be bloating me or cause me any water
And
retention.
you didn't look fluffy, and you didn't look
No,
like it
and on
just
the contrary, I filled out and I looked much more vascular, much more full, much better.
wow. Okay. So you said normally you would do a 30% increase 1 day a week leading up
Hmm.
to starting 3 weeks out, you said?
Yeah, usually about 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
That's kind of just use to test the waters to see how my body responds to that increase. You don't want to jump straight to 100% increase. So kind of start out slow and see how your body responds and, increase that as needed.
Okay. Sorry, just writing stuff down.
Now you're good. I didn't realize how much this was going to suck my battery. I'm going to have to grab my charger real quick.
Okay.
You talk to the camera for a second? Give me
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
minute. I'll be right
So,
back.
so yeah, if he's trying out he's got a different camera that he's using. Um, so that's why he's got to change some stuff real quick. Um, for those of you watching, what we're talking about is Rob's protocol and how he uses fat as a leverage to get his body composition and protein as well to get his body composition um, on point in lock for bodybuilding shows. He just finished one, and we're kind of talking about what his protocol was for this last show that he was doing.
All right, I'm back.
All right. So, all right, we've got your refeeds. All right, cool. So, some of the benefits of going through a ketogenic process, your protocol that you have here. What I've heard you say so far is meal timing,
Hmm.
food prep is easier. You don't have any GI issues. Um, you feel better in general. You have energy. You can go pretty much anytime you need to go. Uh, Anything else? I know for me, the things that I saw when I made the switch was less inflammation, increased volume. I didn't have to take as many days off. Um, Sleep was better, so my recovery was better. That was really the biggest thing. All the markers for recovery really
Yeah.
improved. Um, so my volume and the amount of work I was able to do, therefore, improved as well. My max recovery volume shot through the roof
Hmm.
because I could do so much more without feeling like crap all the time. Is there anything like that or anything else that you noticed?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any inflammation. Like I felt good from a training standpoint. I had no adverse effects there. Like I said, I was able to increase my PRs week after week, going into and deeper into the prep. Um, I think one major benefit is like from a blood work standpoint, my
Mhm.
hormones. Doing a ketogenic prep is much more stable than doing a carbohydrate based prep. I
Yeah.
got all my blood work done before starting, and then I just took some blood samples this past week. I'm getting those results back, I think, later this week. But
Okay.
I'm excited to see the results there because my theory is that from a especially as a natural male bodybuilder from like a testosterone standpoint, if you have very little dietary fat, which is typical of most cutting protocols, that's going to have a negative effect on your body's ability to keep stable hormone levels.
Absolutely.
So that would be one major benefit for sure.
Okay. Also, and then just thinking about it, you said that is on the recovery aspect plays across so many different areas, right? Less carbs, less inflammation, more ability to do more work, so your volume increases. Better sleep, right? Sleep is anabolic, so I can sleep. My testosterone, I have more fat. My testosterone gets better. Like everything kind of overlaps and builds on itself and
Totally.
each other, right? It makes everything kind of work all together. Cool.
Yeah,
More
it's all
protein, like it's
symbiotic. Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, symbiotic. That's a good way to put it. Okay, so dude, I'm gonna need to try this. Once we get out of this COVID stuff, I gotta try this.
Yeah. What are you doing for training right now with everything being crazy?
My living room floor and a TRX.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's brutal, man.
I was at the park at my apartment complex the other day, and my girlfriend sent me and I posted my TRX hanging off this jungle gym thing, and my girlfriend texted me. She's like, "Hey, you know that they just announced a $5,000 fine for anybody found at a park." I was like,
Really?
"Oh crap! Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna be in my apartment doing my thing, right?" So,
I feel incredibly blessed because I've got the compound here, the warehouse,
yep.
and then I've got my own little home gym, like with pretty legit gym. And
Yeah.
that's what I used throughout the entirety of the prep. And that's
Okay.
what I'm using now. So I haven't
Yeah.
skipped a beat, you know?
I hate you. I hate you. I feel kind of weird. I mean, I've been in fitness for almost 10 years and I have no equipment. I have a TRX. That's it.
Yeah.
I've got some bands and things like that, but not a lot. But
Man,
you
I tell
mentioned,
you, I would go like I was already pretty emotionally distraught having all my competition stripped from me. If I
yeah,
couldn't work out there either at the end, like I would
it's
literally
hard.
be a mental wreck, man. It would not be
It's
good.
it is very difficult. You know, I had I was doing some stuff and then I said, I need to at least break down and try to buy some kettlebells, do something there. All the sporting goods stores are closed. You can't go in them.
Hmm.
And everything's sold out. I went to 5 different online vendors for kettlebells and they're all gone. Everything's sold out. Like, you gotta be kidding me. And then the one thing I did find a place, but they wouldn't shipping till May.
Oof. It
So
makes me
yeah,
really appreciate the simple things in life, like a squat rack, man. Like
right.
I've got a squat rack. It's like the new currency right now.
Yeah,
How many
absolutely.
weights you
Absolutely.
get?
All right. So let's talk real quick what you're doing compared to what I'm doing, because it's really similar at points, but also different. So basically, what I was, and this is one of the things I'm really frustrated with this whole situation, because I had literally the week before they announced a lockdown, I had just started a protocol where I was going to bump all my calories up super high
Hmm.
and then kind of, monitor what I'm eating, monitor what my workouts are, and kind of do, okay, here's what happens in my body. Um, I was going to do, I think I was going to do like 3,500. Say it's very similar. I was going to do 3,500 calories a day. Now, the way I was going to do it though was flipped. I was
Hmm.
going to do 70-30. I was going to do a 1-to-1 ratio, right? It
Hmm.
was going to be about same as what your ending of the cycle or middle of the cycle looks like, right? So you, in the middle of your cycle, you were 200 grams and 200 grams. I was going to be about 300 grams and 150
Hmm.
grams. And then work myself down from there. I was actually going to keep the protein there and work the fat down as I went
Hmm.
to kind of show, hey, it's not the protein. The protein doesn't mean squat as far as fat loss or fat gain, and kind of go through that whole process. So my base, where I start people, if we just talk about people losing weight, and we should talk about that. There is a little difference, right? You're talking about bodybuilding.
Hmm.
Most of the work that I do is with people who are trying to just get in shape.
Yeah.
So fat loss is a priority. Muscle gain is a secondary priority.
Yeah.
What I do is I start people in that middle, that 1-to-1. And I say, your first goal, the first thing I want you to do is try to at least get the same amount of fat and protein in every day.
Hmm.
That's the minimum, right? I want you to get that. If you can do that, that's awesome. And I set their fat as a limit and their protein as a minimum,
Hmm.
right? So if you go over on the protein, by all means, have a blast. You're not going to get fat. It's going to help with your thermogenesis. Like, it's going to do all kind of good stuff for you. Don't go over on your fat because you don't need the extra fuel. You got enough on your body. You don't need it. And then as they progress, and what I've done for myself in the past couple of years, I've done the other thing though, where I've gone up higher on the protein and lower on the fat to change my body composition.
Hmm.
And I've noticed all the same things that you've noticed, right? So I've noticed increase in strength, from doing a CrossFit perspective. My Metcons all got better. I got faster at everything. All my lifts got better. I got stronger at everything. Like, I was recovering. During this process of this transition, coming into it, I had groin issues. I had torn labrums. I had all kinds of things going on. The more I transitioned into less carbs, the more those things stopped being a factor. I was able to recover. I didn't get injured as much. I used to get hurt 2-3 times a year. Something would pull or yank or twist, or something would happen, and
Hmm.
I'd be out of it for a couple weeks. It's been 2 years. I'll be 2 years carnivore in 3 weeks. I haven't had a pull. I haven't had a tear. I haven't had anything that's made me take any time from training.
Hmm.
It's and I'm older, right? I'm almost 50 years old. I'll be 48. I'll be 48 in May. It's like, this is absolutely incredible. What do you think are the contributing factors to, let's talk about this. Yeah, let's say that. What do you think are the contributing factors to why this is working for you and for me? Because we're basically doing similar things, right? If we focus on, we're cutting out carbs, we're getting up the protein that we need. The difference on your end is at the tail end of you really cutting, you're cutting everything down altogether,
Yeah.
right? But that's a bodybuilding thing, not necessarily a health thing,
Yeah,
right? I'm
totally.
sure if
So
you were doing health related stuff, you probably would keep it at that 1-to-1 ratio ish, or somewhere around there, and just maintain.
yeah, I think 1-to-1 is probably across the board. And again, there's a lot of individuality to it, but I think across the board, 1-to-1 is probably the safest bet for just a good solid maintenance. Like I'm
Yep.
all for 1-to-1. I think it's great, especially if your overall calories are high enough and adequate.
Yep.
So if you're doing that, you're solid. The reason I started such a high fat ratio, then titrate protein up, and then titrate both down is that during the course of a contest prep, which for me is, 20, 22, 25 weeks even,
Yeah.
your body becomes very adapted to you're very consistent with what you're doing. Like your training's on point, your sleep's on point, like everything. I mean, you're a freaking machine, man. There's
Mhm.
just everything is dialed in. So you have to be very strategic in the levers that you pull. And by having that high degree of ratio of flux, you're able to give your body enough of a change in stimulus to elicit a response. If I
Okay.
was to just try and stick with the 1-to-1 throughout the entirety of that 22, 25 weeks, I wouldn't really get down to that, that we body fat percentage that I'm able to achieve in the
Yep.
course of contest prep. I mean,
Yep.
there's you can kind of hedge the bets, play the shade of gray, and get down to like 8% body fat relatively easy as a
Yeah.
male with a healthy
Yeah.
functioning metabolism,
Yep.
et cetera, et
Yep.
cetera. But from getting to 8 to 3 is a whole nother ball game.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
Whole nother
and
ball
that's
game.
and that's exactly where I was at. Right? There's a the further you. Let me see if I can say this right. The further away you are from the center point goal, the center of the
Hmm.
target, the more impact smaller changes have. So the closer you get to the center point of that target, the more specific you have to be and make larger changes, but in less areas, right? Does that make sense?
Yep. Totally.
Right. So, if you're 30 pounds overweight and you're not doing anything, if you just get up off the couch and you go for a walk a couple miles a day, that's going to do amazing things, right? That's shifting the needle. That's a big shift,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the closer you get to the center of that target, you've got to, like, what are you going to change? Like, you've already got everything locked down. What is there left to change? You
Yeah.
can work out for 5 hours a day, right? Or you can fluctuate and change the stimulus, like you said, that your nutrition is providing to the body, and kind of
Hmm.
adjust things that way. So,
Totally.
yeah, I went from like 19% to 9%. And then I kind of stayed at 9%. And my thing was like, can I get lower? Can I get lower by eating more food? Can I get lower by eating more protein and going with less fat? So all the people that, up until you, all the people that I talked to that are in the ketogenic space on the bodybuilding side, talking about body composition getting really low, are all more closer to the PSMF side, right?
Yeah.
Overfeed on protein, eat, 6 times your body weight in grams of protein, and try to eat
Yeah.
nothing else, and minimum 30 grams or 20 grams of fat a day, and you'll be fine.
And
Um,
that's I don't know, man. Like that is traditional way of thinking for sure.
yeah.
And I've done that. I mean, when you look at basically what my macronutrients are before I ever was keto, when my fat was super low, my protein was super high. And that's basically what I was doing. I
Yep.
mean, I think
Yep.
I was taking like at one point when I first competition, I was down to like 1,100, 1,200 calories. That's basically protein sparing modified fast to a T,
Right.
you know. But the way you feel and the way you function from a hormonal standpoint and a metabolic standpoint at that intake of calories it just pales in comparison to how I feel and perform taking in 1,800 calories in which the majority of my calories are coming from fat. Because
Yep.
like I said earlier, protein is not a good substrate for energy.
Nope.
So I can either
Not at
starve
all.
myself and have very minimal source of energy to function throughout my day to day, or I can, optimize for a ketogenic approach, have plenty of dietary fat coming in, keep my hormones stable,
Right.
relatively speaking.
Right.
And still function pretty on a high rate, you know? So for me, it just makes the whole sport much more sustainable.
Which is counterintuitive when you think about it. But at the same time, it's not if you really think about it.
Yeah.
The lack of extra work and extra processing and extra inflammation and extra stress and extra mental thought processes and all the things that you get when you add carbs into the mix allows your body to, and I use this word on purpose, allows your body to do what it's supposed to do without all the crap.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I say what it's supposed to do because the thought process for many people in bodybuilding is that you have to have the carbs. That's what our body needs. Right. And it doesn't, number one. Number two, it can work a lot cleaner and a lot more efficiently. When it works more efficiently, then things work differently than they would if you're not doing it the right way. Like it's like if you do it the right way, things work the right way. If you do it the wrong way, you got to do a bunch of other things to make it do what you want it to do.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they point to protein as having a higher thermic effect of food, which it does. But if you're getting an inefficient source of energy from that protein, even if you have a ton of protein, but your overall calories are low, but you're basically inefficiently converting that to energy through gluconeogenesis, you're not going to feel great. Like that's why all these bodybuilders that are, you know, very low calorie, high protein walk around like zombies.
Yeah.
Their neat activity is way down. So even if they're getting like a very small minuscule amount of increase in thermogenesis from the higher thermic effect of food or the increased protein, they're negating that by the lower overall daily energy expenditure.
Well, but the fact that their body is burning protein in the first place means that they're not getting enough fuel from fat or carbs at that point. Like they're not getting, the only reason your body is going to burn protein for fuel is if it's literally doesn't have any other source of fuel.
Yeah.
So when you're at 4% or 5% or 6% and you're eating 30 grams or less of fat a day, you're doing things your body doesn't want to do.
Yeah, it's totally a non-natural process.
Like it's not a natural, that's not what it's supposed to do, right?
No.
So, okay. So basically what we're saying is that your approach, the ketogenic bodybuilding approach, is optimizing your body's natural processes to get you to the body composition and performance that you want to be.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say that's pretty accurate for sure.
Yeah. Optimizing your body's natural processes. I like that. We got to write that down.
It should be a slogan or something.
Yeah, right. Put it on Keto Savage, man. That's your new thing.
I need to, man. I need to. Mission statement right there.
All right. So I think we've got that down. If anybody has any questions, they can follow you on Instagram, follow you on social. You have a Facebook page? I don't think I ever asked that before.
Yeah, it's Team Savage. So my wife and I run that together. So Team Savage, Facebook.
Okay, Team Savage on Facebook. Real quick, before we talk about some other stuff I want to throw in here. I'm going to throw in a product call real quick. Tell us about Keto Brick and how all the stuff that we're talking about transfers into what you've done with Keto Brick, and why I love them. I can't get enough of peanut butter, by the way.
You haven't tried the new one yet, have you?
I have not tried the new one yet. I saw the announcement the other day.
Yeah. So Keto Brick is a product that I made it was never designed to be a product that I sell. Like I made it for my own competition prep benefit in 2017, which was my first run at doing a ketogenic competition prep. I needed something that was shelf stable, that had the higher fat macros, because there was, like I said, no keto products back then.
Yep.
And I wanted something that, like I said, was shelf stable, hit the macro goals that I had, and just made macronutrient manipulation easy. So I played around in the kitchen, came up with this formula, boom, Keto Brick was formed. And the earlier generations were not nearly as refined as the ones we have now, but they were there nonetheless. And I had it on a YouTube video. People kept asking about what it is, where can I get it, what's the recipe? And I'm like, oh, it's nothing, just something I'm playing around with. And they kept asking. So my mom, my wife, girlfriend at the time, Crystal, she was like, we got to start making these into a product. So lo and behold, we did. And the rest is history, man. Now they've become something that I continue to use. I mean, I've literally eaten one whole brick every single day for the entirety of the contest prep. And then now going into the reverse diet. The thing about it is there's a bunch of snack bars out there. There's a bunch of keto snacks out there.
Yeah.
I don't eat any of those when I'm trying to optimize my body, because it's just not worth the caloric trade-off. Whereas with the Keto Brick, it is. Like, it's a nutrient dense performance bar.
Right.
And I don't have a problem eating one of those every single day, because that paired with a well formulated ketogenic diet in the form of, quality grass fed meats, et cetera, organ meats. I mean, I feel like $1,000,000, man, and I function properly. I'm optimized. I'm able to achieve whatever goals that I have, and then it's easy to manipulate the macros based on what those goals are. So
Right.
to me, it's a tool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know everybody that I know that has them. I talk to people all the time, like, hey, do you have, and they're like, oh, I love keto break. I'm like, until I got into the space, like I didn't even hear about it. Now I can't stop hearing about it. It's awesome.
Well, good. I like to hear
Um,
that.
Now you got to focus. Now you got should start targeting at disaster preppers and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
at home. You're stuck at home. You need something. You
yeah,
got to start a marketing campaign for that.
yeah. I think the
Um,
preppers would find it beneficial for sure.
or the hunters. Yeah, do you have a hunter
Yeah,
line as well? Right, hunters.
yeah. I mean, I'm a big hunter, big
Okay.
outdoorsman. So, like, people that go hiking all day
Yeah.
long, they go fishing, they go camping. I mean, you don't have to cook it; it's shelf stable, so it makes
Right.
doing that easy too.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So some of the things that we've talked about, there's a few things that kind of peeked out at me, and we'll talk about insulin peaks and feeling the pump.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do the pump first. Um, what is from your experience, um, why do people think that you have to have carbs in order to feel a pump?
Well, when you have carbs, you do hold more water. Like, I
Hmm.
know that there's been studies done. The faster study illustrates that you can replace and replenish glycogen just as fast when you're in a keto adapted state as you can with carbs. That is true. I haven't noticed any decrease in performance having been absent of carbs, but you do tend to have you hold on to things more with carbs,
Hmm.
mostly fluids.
Hmm.
The problem with that is you can't easily pick and choose where those fluids are held, and oftentimes they get held in the subcutaneous layer of skin and wash you out, make you look flat, or you spill over, which is why it's dangerous from a contest prep standpoint, especially if your electrolytes are not balanced properly. If
Hmm.
your electrolytes are balanced properly, you have proper hydration, proper sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium, then you can optimize and get a significant pump with and not have carbs is that your skin is much, much thinner. You have a much thinner look to your skin. So that brings out the vascularity and the definition that you do have. It's not
Right,
hidden under a thicker layer of skin.
right, dude.
So the pump's more prominent.
Yeah, I mean, I walk around and my veins are popping out. I'm not even working
Yeah.
out. I'm like, I love this. This is awesome. You
Yeah.
know?
I never used to get that. I mean, I've got like old man looking skin because it's just so
Yeah.
thin, but from a bodybuilding standpoint, it's great.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I work out, I get a pump. It doesn't take anything. Just get going, and I feel great when I do it.
Yeah.
Um, all right, insulin peaks. I've had so many conversations with people,
Hmm.
even people that are super educated, right? People that have master's degrees, licensed nutritionists, or whatever, who one didn't realize that protein does have an insulinemic response,
Hmm.
and two think that was it GLUT4 is
Hmm.
required in order to gain muscle.
Yeah.
And when I try to explain to them, one, protein does have an insulinemic response, and two, GLUT4, all GLUT4 does is allow the body's uptake of glycogen. It doesn't
Hmm.
have anything to do with building muscle,
Yep.
right? So you don't, it has zero to do. It's just, can your body pull in the glycogen when you get it?
Hmm.
Um, so talk a little bit from my perspective, protein's insulin response and most of the metrics and the graphs that I've seen is similar to more than some, less than others, but it's basically the same as most carbs.
Yeah.
The difference being, and here's why I think it's so beneficial to cut out the carbs, is you're getting the same insulin response, but you're not getting the excess fuel to get stored as fat.
Yeah.
So it's pushing directly in the nutrients, the BCAAs, it's pushing in those things into your body instead of pushing in glycogen into your body.
Yeah. See, insulin is an extreme growth agent. It causes growth in the muscle tissue, it causes growth in the fat cell tissue, it causes cancer cell growth. It causes growth. That's what
Yeah.
insulin does. It's a storage hormone. Um, and for me and for anybody that trains, you can achieve an increase in lean muscle tissue simply by stimulating the muscle with increased resistance training. I mean, muscle
Yep.
protein synthesis is going to happen in the absence of an insulin response.
Yep.
So I would prioritize that over insulin as a standalone factor. And like
Beautiful.
you said, protein itself has an insulinemic response. You don't have to have the carbs. You're getting all of the benefit minus the negative adverse effects. Even if you were to see an increase in lean tissue from having increased carbohydrates, my personal opinion is that the adverse effects of having those carbohydrates outweighs that minuscule increase in lean tissue. For instance, if I was to pit myself up against a bodybuilder that's using carbs, if they're able to come in with a little bit more lean muscle tissue over the course of their building phase than me because of the carbs, but then we diet down and they lose more lean muscle tissue because
Right.
they're less because they're more catabolic because of their decreased dietary fat, lower
Higher, higher,
calories, et cetera,
higher cortisol, like,
higher cortisol, all of
yeah,
that. I come in on show day with a net higher increase in lean muscle tissue than them, even if they built more lean tissue in the off season. Who wins at the end of the day? I
right,
would argue that I do all day long.
right,
So for me, it's a moot point. Like even if there is that benefit from carbs, which I would argue there isn't, it's not a worthwhile benefit to warrant having the carbs.
right. Do you know of anybody, because I can't think off the top of my head, who's done a study or just an N+1 experiment with not changing their workout routine, just changing their macros from a carb, no carb perspective, and
So
see what the lean mass gain is.
I've done an experiment. Actually, Danny and I did a 3-month experiment in which we increased calories by 500 over baseline. And then 1 month was higher fat, 1 month was a 1-to-1, and 1 month was higher protein. But we have not done one in which it was, the only variable change was carb intake.
Yeah.
I personally have had my fair share of carbs, and I don't want to do that experiment.
Well, that's
I'll let some other
honestly,
poor sucker do that.
honestly, your head's right where mine at, because I've been thinking about it. I'm like, I really don't want to go backwards. Like, I
Yeah,
really,
I don't
I
either.
don't
I
want to
don't
do
either.
that.
It's not worth it to me.
So,
Plus,
okay,
like the mental cognition that comes with, not having the carbs in my system as a businessman and an entrepreneur, like to me, the benefit I get from that is so much greater. Like I'm not willing to sacrifice that to have
right,
the carbs.
right, okay,
I mean, I've
okay,
been strict keto for 5, 6 years now, man. Like
right.
it's who I am. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, I've been low carb for 3 years. I've been carnivore for almost 2. So I
Yeah,
can't. I have no desire to go and be like, all right, let me try eating all these carbs again. And be like, oh my gosh, I
yeah,
can't do that. Okay,
yeah.
awesome, man. There's probably going to be more stuff I think about as I look at my notes and everything. And be like, all right, we got to do a follow up again.
Hey,
Um,
that's fine with me, man. We'll
since
make it round 5.
since it looks like KetoCon's rescheduled,
Yeah.
guessing the cruise that we were going to speak at is going to be canceled. Although, have you heard anything officially if that's canceled yet?
I haven't heard anything official. I think as of right now, it's set to go, but it's like 1 week after everything opens back up. So I'm imagining they're gonna just push things back another couple weeks. So I
Yeah.
don't think
Okay.
it'll go. I'm not getting my
Man,
hopes up.
man. All right. Well, in case we don't get to see each other in May, keep doing what you're doing, man, and we'll keep in touch. All
Likewise.
right.
Likewise, man. I appreciate you, brother.
You bet. Take it easy.
Take care.